Let's start with a guy who never even started in college, which should have been the first red flag. But when Brady went down in 2008, Castle stepped in and threw for over 30 touchdowns, leading the Patriots to an 11-3 record. And everyone lost their minds. Kansas City handed this man a franchise quarterback contract like he was the second coming of Joe Montana. Spoiler alert, he wasn't. The moment Castle left Belichick's system, he turned back into a pumpkin. He was inconsistent, mediocre, and proof that the Patriots could make literally anyone look good. It's not that Castle was talented, it's that Bill Belichick is basically a football wizard who could probably turn me into a Pro Bowler. Cassell's career is the ultimate reminder that system matters, and without it, you're just another guy. But hey, at least Castle didn't cost his team the #1 overall pick, unlike our next guy. Remember that hit in the Outback Bowl? Yeah, we all do. Jadeveon Clowney absolutely demolished a Michigan running back, forcing a fumble that he recovered himself. It was the kind of play that gets shown on loop, the kind that makes GMs start sweating and reaching for their checkbooks. So naturally, the Houston Texans took him first overall in 2014. The problem? That hit was basically Clowney's entire resume. Don't get me wrong, Clowney was solid, but solid isn't what you draft at #1. You draft #1 to get a game wrecker, a franchise-altering defensive monster. Instead, the Texans got a guy who bounced from Houston to Seattle to Tennessee, never quite living up to the hype. He was the football equivalent of a movie trailer that's better than the actual movie. All sizzle, no steak. The dude had all the physical tools, but never put it together consistently enough to justify that draft position. And let's be honest, teams are still paying for that one highlight. Speaking of guys who lived off highlights, let's talk about a quarterback who thought he was way better than he actually was. Oh, this one's gonna ruffle some feathers. Archie Manning is football royalty, the patriarch of the Manning dynasty, father of Peyton and Eli. But here's the thing nobody wants to talk about. Archie was absolutely terrible as a starter. The man went 35-101 as a starting quarterback. That's not a typo. That's the worst record in NFL history for any quarterback with over 100 starts. His completion percentage was 55.2, and his passer rating was a whopping 67.1. Now sure, he played for some horrible New Orleans Saints teams in the 70s. But at some point, you gotta ask, did the team make Archie bad? Or did Archie make the team bad? Great quarterbacks elevate their teams. Archie just kinda existed. And yet, because of his sons, we act like he was some kind of legend. The truth is, Archie Manning's career is proof that sometimes legacy matters more than stats. And that's not necessarily a good thing. But if you think Archie's record is bad, wait until you hear about the guy who made everyone forget how to evaluate talent. 1998. The Colts take Peyton Manning first overall, and the Chargers grab Ryan Leaf at #2. At the time, this was a legitimate debate. Some people actually thought Leaf was the better pick. Let that sink in. Leaf won his first 2 games, and everything seemed fine. Then the wheels didn't just fall off, they exploded mid-flight and took the entire car with them. Leaf's rookie season was a dumpster fire, wrapped in a train wreck. He completed 45% of his passes, threw 2 touchdowns and 15 interceptions, and had a passer rating of 39. 39. To put that in perspective, if you just threw the ball into the ground every play, you'd probably have a better rating. But the stats aren't even the worst part. Leaf was a locker room cancer, screaming at reporters, getting suspended for cursing out his own GM, and showing zero maturity. The guy was so bad that the Chargers gave up on him after just 14 starts. Meanwhile, Peyton Manning went on to become one of the greatest QBs of all time. Oops. And speaking of guys who flamed out spectacularly, let's talk about a #1 pick who literally couldn't get a single sack. The New York Jets took Vernon Gholston 6th overall in 2008, thinking they were getting a pass-rushing terror out of Ohio State. Gholston was a physical freak. 6'3", 266 pounds, ran a 4.640. On paper, the dude was a monster. In reality, he was a ghost. Gholston played 3 seasons with the Jets and recorded exactly 0 sacks. 0. For a guy drafted to rush the passer, that's like hiring a chef who can't boil water. He couldn't beat offensive linemen, couldn't make plays, and couldn't justify his draft position in any measurable way. After 3 years of complete futility, the Jets cut him and he was out of the league. Golston is the ultimate workout warrior cautionary tale, a guy who dominated the combine but couldn't translate any of it to actual football. The Jets passed on Derek Harvey, who also busted, but at least Harvey got some sacks. Golston got nothing, absolute zero. Ghost mode activated. But at least Golston didn't destroy an entire franchise's hopes and dreams. That honor belongs to the next guy. RG3's rookie season was electric. He threw for 3,200 yards, 20 touchdowns, ran for over 800 yards, won Rookie of the Year, and took Washington to the playoffs. The hype was unreal. People were calling him the next big thing, the future of the position. But here's what nobody wanted to admit. That season was fool's gold. Griffin's success was almost entirely built on gimmicks, read option plays, play-action bootlegs, designed runs. When defenses figured it out, he had nothing, and the stats back it up. Griffin only completed 2 deep throws on regular dropbacks his entire rookie year. 2. Everything else was system-based trickery. Then came the playoff injury, ACL, LCL, meniscus, all torn in a game he should have been pulled from. After that, Griffin was never the same. He couldn't adapt, couldn't become a pocket passer, and by 2015, he'd lost his job to Kirk Cousins. The dude who was supposed to be a generational talent was out of the league by 2017. RG3 wasn't a bust because he got injured. He was overrated from day one because his game was built on smoke and mirrors. And if you think that's bad, just wait until you hear about the biggest draft disaster in NFL history. Jamarcus Russell is the gold standard of draft busts, the guy every team points to when they're afraid of screwing up a pick. The Oakland Raiders took him first overall in 2007, passed on Calvin Johnson and Joe Thomas, and gave him a $68 million contract with $31 million guaranteed. It's the most expensive mistake in NFL history. And the crazy part, people tried to warn them. Matt Millen sat down with Russell before the draft and told Al Davis point blank, "Do not draft this guy." But Davis didn't listen. And what did the Raiders get? A quarterback who went 7-18 as a starter, threw more interceptions than touchdowns, had a 65.2 passer rating, and showed zero work ethic. Russell's weight ballooned, he didn't study film, and one Raiders executive said he simply didn't care. After 3 seasons, Oakland cut him, and he never played another snap. Jamarcus Russell is why teams are terrified of drafting quarterbacks. He's the cautionary tale, the nightmare scenario, the guy who had all the talent and none of the drive. Absolute disaster. But here's the wildest part. Some overrated players actually had long careers. Like this next guy. Okay, before Giants fans come after me, hear me out. Eli Manning won 2 Super Bowls and made it to the Hall of Fame. But let's be real, Eli was the most inconsistent, frustrating quarterback of his generation. The man only made 4 Pro Bowls in 16 years. 4. He had a career passer rating in the 80s, threw a ton of interceptions, and spent most of his career being painfully mediocre. Yes, he made 2 miracle runs in the playoffs, but those wins had way more to do with the Giants' elite defense and ridiculous catches than Eli's brilliance. The helmet catch, David Tyree, the sideline grab, Manningham. Eli was a game manager who got hot at the right time, and somehow we treat him like he's a top 10 all-time quarterback. The dude is football's version of winning the lottery. Right place, right time, right defense. Overrated doesn't mean bad. It just means the hype never matched reality. And Eli? Yeah, that's textbook overrated. Now, what about a guy who had one legendary run and then vanished? Michael Vick was the first overall pick in 2001, and the hype was astronomical. He was fast, electric, a human highlight reel who could change games with his legs. And for a while, it worked. But Vick never became the franchise quarterback everyone thought he'd be. Why? Off-field issues destroyed his prime. The Bad News Kennels scandal got him arrested, suspended, and sent to prison. By the time he returned, he was older, slower, and never recaptured that early magic consistently. Don't get me wrong, Vic was talented, but he's the ultimate what-if player. What if he'd stayed out of trouble? What if he'd focused on becoming a complete passer? We'll never know. Instead, we got flashes of brilliance surrounded by wasted potential. Vic is overrated because people remember what could have been instead of what actually was. And that's not a Hall of Fame career. That's a tragedy. All right, time for number one. The most overrated superstar who fooled everyone from day one. Oh, you thought I'd let Favre slide? Not a chance. Brett Favre won 3 MVPs and is in the Hall of Fame. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. The man threw interceptions like he was trying to set a world record. Favre had 4 seasons where he threw more picks than Jamarcus Russell's entire career. He made boneheaded decisions, forced throws into triple coverage, and cost his team's games with reckless play. Yes, he won a Super Bowl. 1 in 20 years. And yet we act like he's a top 5 all-time quarterback. The truth is, Favre's career was built on longevity and gunslinger mythology, not consistent greatness. He was Brett Favre the legend, not Brett Favre the stats. And if you actually look at his numbers compared to his peers, he's wildly overrated. Fun to watch? Absolutely. One of the best ever? Not even close. Thanks for watching. Make sure to click this video on the screen for more.